Hello and welcome to Flagstaff TV. Today we are joined by Dan Slater, energy analyst at Zeus Capital. Dan, thank you very much for joining us today.
Oh, it's a great pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, Sound Energy has just released its H1 results. What progress do these results report on the company's Tendara Phase 1 development project?
Well, Tendara Phase 1 is particularly important for them. It's going to be their first gas production that they're going to commercialize out of what is a very large find out there in the desert in eastern Morocco. So they've got a lot of this sorted already, the LNG production kit, some of the gas gathering stuff, et cetera, and they're finishing that off as we speak. And so they're going to have that on stream in the fourth quarter of this year. That's been the expectation for a while, and that's been maintained in those those half-year results. That's very important for the company because it's going to show that they can commercialize that gas discovery and it's going to result in cash flows. That's very important too because they can then use those to fund the company and redeploy into new phases on Tendara. So it was very good in those half-year results to see that phase 1 is still progressing well, that they're still expecting to have it on stream before the end of the year. So you're going to get that catalyst of it coming on stream, and then you're going to get the production and cash flows reported subsequently. So it's very important for them, and we were very pleased to see that firmed up even further in that set of results.
And what about Phase 2 at Tendara? How is that going?
Well, phase 2 is arguably even more important. In phase 1, we're expecting them to commercialize about 39 billion cubic feet of gas on a gross basis. Phase 2, however, is substantially larger. It's 265 billion cubic feet on a gross basis. Sound have got 20% of this. So really, the main prize for them at Tendara, their main focus asset, is getting phase 2 through final investment decision, through development, and starting producing gas from that as well. So phase 2 is not only larger, but also, while with phase 1, they'll be using a micro LNG facility to provide trucked LNG, which you can sort of do on a smaller and modular basis. Phase 2, they're going to build a pipeline to connect into the main Moroccan gas pipeline. That goes all the way through the Moroccan industrial areas. That's power generation, that is ceramics, various other bits and pieces, and also goes all the way into Spain. So it opens up a much wider market for them. So if you can get through phase 2 and through developments on phase 2, you get substantially higher revenues, substantially higher cash flows just from that project, but you also get a route to commerciality for any other discoveries that they might make. And there's all sorts of other things they might drill over the years around Tendara. So it's very important, is phase 2. And so what we've seen in the first half results is that the operator, the farm-in partner that came in at the back end of last year, Mana Energy, they are going through the front-end engineering design for that. They're refreshing that. They're having another look at it. They might make a few tweaks to the capex or exactly what the development looks like. That should then mean once they've completed that, they can complete the debt facility. They've got an agreed debt facility from a local Moroccan bank. Once they've got the feed, they can complete the debt facility, and then they can move to final investment decision on phase 2. And that should be happening in the first half of next year. And so that as well is a very large catalyst to respect. It represents a much bigger development project for the company, but also that route to market as well. So again, we were pleased to see that phase 2 is progressing well, and we should hopefully be getting FID on that from the JV in the first half of next year. Very important stuff, very important for demonstrating the value of these gas discoveries and the wider portfolio that Sound has up there in the desert in eastern Morocco.
Now, we know Sound is also planning new drilling at its Morocco assets. What is the outlook there?
This is sort of the third element of those assets that they have up there in eastern Morocco. So as a result of the farm-in that they did last year, Sound are fully carried on 2 exploration appraisal wells. In order to get those drilled, the first thing they need to do is get those exploration licenses extended. Now, we know they're in discussions with the Moroccan authorities for that to happen. And so actually getting each of those licenses, Grand Tendara and Anul, renewed and extended out, that's a catalyst in itself. But once you get that, then the JV can crack on with these 2 exploration wells and drilling those. And those are quite important catalysts as well. So you could be in a position over the coming months and into next year where you get those licenses extended and then you can actually drill the wells. So we could be in a position maybe in 12 months' time, where they're actually cracking on with drilling of those as well. And that gives you actual drilling catalysts for the shares, which is very attractive, the potential to add a lot of resource, but more to the point, and this is where phase two comes into it. If you make those discoveries and you've taken FID on phase two, you've got the pipeline connection from phase two, giving you access to all those gas markets. You've also got the production infrastructure, the site, all the other bits and pieces that you'll be using for phase two as well, which you could then expand in order to develop any other discoveries. So rather than finding any new drilling and any new discoveries are then waiting a number of years in order to get commercialized, you can potentially then just tack those on as a phase three or a phase four, and you can get into a multi-year development program to really allow Sound to properly grow the asset base. So you can actually get some really exponential growth out of that drilling. So that's very exciting as well. And actually extending the licenses, that's a catalyst, then hopefully the drilling at some point next year. So that's all very exciting too. That's the sort of the third element of those Tendara assets and what we like to see coming through over the next 12 to 18 months.
And Dan, what about Sound's other Morocco initiatives in renewable energy and hydrogen?
Sound's been operating in Morocco for a long time, and during that time, it's become an important company for the Moroccan domestic energy space. It's been pushing ahead with gas developments, and that's obviously the main thing it's doing. But what that's also meant is it's got a lot of contacts in country, both in terms of the government, commercially, etc. And what it's trying to do is, alongside its main focus, Tendara and all those assets, and progressing those, it's also trying to leverage some of those relationships to get into other energy projects in Morocco. So they're looking at supplying renewable energy into the medium voltage grid. They're also looking at potentially exploring for hydrogen and helium. Now, these businesses are all quite nascent, they're relatively new, but what it's showing is Sound using the position that it has and the relationships and the clouds it has in country in order to provide extra growth avenues for the company and for the stock. So it's early days for those businesses, but it does show extra elements of growth and diversity of revenue that Sound could look at over the coming years. So that's good to see coming through as well.
Dan, finally for today, how should we think about the next 12 months in terms of catalysts for the share price and the position the company could be in this time next year?
Well, there should be quite a lot of news flow coming through over the next 12 months or so. First up, we're going to get first gas and first revenues coming out of phase one at Tendara at the back end of this year. We're then hopefully going to get FID on phase two in the first half of next year. We should then be getting renewal of those exploration licenses and possibly even by this time next year, cracking on with drilling there as well. So there should be an awful lot of news flow. And while all that is going on, we should be having periodic reporting of production, revenue, and cash flow data coming out of phase one once that comes on stream at the back end of the year. So we should be getting a decent amount of news flow, but that's going to ramp up over the next 12 months. And so if you think about where the stock could be this time next year, you'll have been on stream at Tendara phase one for about 9 months or so, and having the production and cash flows coming out of that, demonstrating the productive capacity of those wells, the reservoir, the ability to produce and sell gas in that part of the country. And you'll have been having that for 9 months. You could have FID on phase two, which is massive. It's a very important value point for the stock, and that could have happened by this time next year. You could have had those two exploration licenses extended and then potentially be cracking on with drilling by this point as well. So really, if all those things happen as we're expecting them to do, the company really could be quite transformed from what was an explorer is now a developer. By that point, it'll be a producer, a much larger developer, and be still cracking on with exploration as well. So it really should be quite exciting as we see those pieces of news flow come through over the next 12 months and driving the company into that position that we're hoping it's going to be in by that point. It should all be very exciting for the company, but should be exciting for the share price as well. There should be an awful lot of catalysts to help that increase over that period and start reflecting some of the value that we can see in that Tendara asset as the value of that, the commercial value of that keeps getting demonstrated to the market again and again and again via all those various different pieces of news. That's what we're expecting to see.
Dan, thank you very much for your time today.
Great pleasure. Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching Flagstaff TV.